Okay, so I have a snare here, and unlike our kick, this snare sample is just one hit. That's all we got. So I'm going to drag that into another audio track. I'm not going to put it under here because I'm going to want to hear these both at the same time, and I'm not going to be able to do that if I put it here. So I'm going to put it on a different track. Okay, now we're going to look at it. Now the first thing we see is that this loop isn't good. This isn't really set up to be a loop. This is set up to be a one shot. So if I'm going to set it to be a loop, I want this to be right on the 1. Okay, so I'm going to put a warp marker right there, right where the snare hits, and then I'm going to control click and say set 1 1 here. Okay, now you can see what my loop brace did. My loop brace is still over there, but my starting point is right on that. Okay, this little flag means where it's going to start from when I press play, but this flag is going to, or this brace is what's going to loop. So it's going to start from here, it's going to go all the way till the end, and then it's going to jump back to here. Okay, that's going to be weird. So let's put this right up on the 1. Okay, so now it's going to loop for a full bar. Okay, and you can hear it starting to get off. I think it's not quite perfectly 1 bar, so it's getting a little off. But that doesn't matter. What we want it to do is be a 2-bar loop, or sorry, a 2-beat loop, and happen on beat 2. Okay, so first let's make it a 2-beat loop. Okay, so now when I press play, it's going to hit and then do nothing on beat 2 because there's silence here. Hit 2, hit 2. Okay, so it's going to hit on every other of the kicks. Cool. Now what if I want the opposite of that? What if I want it to go boom, hit, boom, hit, boom, hit, boom, hit? Okay, so what I need to do is start the loop 1 beat back. So let's just adjust our loop. So we're going to go to position. So -1, 4, 1. So that means the bar before the loop starts, -1, beat 4, the last quarter note of that bar, and then the first 16th note. Okay, and then we're going to loop it all the way to 0 bars, because it's not going to do a whole bar. Remember, this this parameter isn't the spot at which the loop brace ends, it's how long the loop brace is. If it was the spot, we would say 1.2.0. That's not what we want. What we want is 0.2.0, because we're saying basically it's just 2 beats long. So now what we have here is it starts on a bar before, which is empty, and then it plays for a bar. This is going to put it on beat 2. Okay? I'm going to get rid of that warp marker because it doesn't need to be there. The last thing I need to do is set our starting position to be back at the same spot as our loop start. Okay? Cool. So now what's going to happen is we're going to have basically the world's most simple beat. We're going to have kick, snare, kick, snare, kick, snare, kick, snare. When I start both of these clips at the same time, which I'll do from our scene launch. Let me show you what's happening. Right? So, let me summarize what we're doing here. Our kick is a 1 beat loop, and it's going to happen every beat. Thump, 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 thump. Our snare is a 2 beat loop, and it starts with a beat of silence. So silence, hit, 2 beats long. Okay, now together, look at the little spinning records here. Thump, 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 thump. Thump, thump. You can see the snare hits at the bottom of this one. Now you don't have to set up beats this way. You can just set everything to be a 4-bar loop and then loop it. That's easy. But doing it this way lets you really kind of see how session view is arranged and working, right? So I think it's a good exercise to think about things this way when working with session view.